What makes the US better than the UK in your lenses?
In my opinion,
Yeah.
because I was struggling, then the opportunity to travel to the UK to further my study skills.
Okay, wait. Guys, welcome back to another exciting video. I'm very excited about this episode because it's actually the very first episode from the United States of America. As you already know, I'm in the United States of America and I'll be here for a very long while. So I'm interviewing black people, interviewing Ghanaians, Kenyans, Africans, and then to learn about their experiences. All right, so in today's video, I'm here with one of my very old friends. Apparently, last time we met in Ghana was in the year 2020. And today we are meeting here again to have a conversation. I want to ask Ramat, what is it like being an international student in the United States of America? And so before you even answer that, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ramatu Osman Abiongo. I'm actually from Ghana. I'm here at the University of Memphis pursuing an MBA in healthcare management. Yeah.
Wow, which part of Ghana are you from?
I'm from Bolga in the Upper East region of Ghana.
Okay, that's Bolga Tanga.
Yes.
Bolga Tanga.
A proud Fafra girl.
So let's take it from Ghana,
Okay.
right? So tell me a bit about yourself. I mean, in terms of where you schooled, how was life in Ghana, and then we'll build it up from there.
Okay, so in Ghana, I lived in the western part, Takwa to be precise. That was where I had my basic education. From there, I attended Archbishop Porter Girls Senior High School.
Oh yeah, Porter Girl.
Yeah, then from there, I moved to the University of Professional Studies, where I met Mr. Albert Anu.
Wait,
Yeah.
what did you study at Porter's?
I was a business student.
Oh, okay, so business.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
And then
At UPSC, I studied business administration. Yeah, he was my course mate. Yeah.
all right, so how was life at the University of Professional Studies?
I would say for me, it wasn't really enjoyable because I didn't really open up to so much. I didn't mingle with a lot of people on campus like some of you did. Yeah, so I didn't really enjoy campus that much. I sometimes regret not doing that, but it's life. Maybe that's the path I was supposed to tread.
All right, so you're from Bolga, right?
Yes.
In the Upper East region. And so at what point in your life did your parents move to Takwa?
Okay, so my parents, my mom was actually born in the western region, Takrady. Yeah, but she had parents that lived in Bolga for all their lives, or for the most part of their lives. So she gets to understand the language, even though she didn't stay there, but she sometimes frequents the place. And then my dad moved to Takwa after he was done with school.
Okay.
I think in the year 1998.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah. So he came down to Takwa, the western part, in search of a job. Yeah.
So you were born in Takwa?
Yes, I was born in Takwa.
Okay, so how many siblings do you have?
I have 3 siblings, 2 girls and then 1 boy.
Okay, and you guys were all born in Takwa,
Takwa,
right?
yeah.
So you understand the Fanti language?
Yes.
And you speak your local dialect as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay, so now let's continue from the University of Professional Studies.
Okay.
So from Porter Girls, why didn't you school in the Western region?
Okay, so I wanted to explore. All my life I've been in the western region, so I wanted to go elsewhere. That was when someone spoke to me about the University of Professional Studies, and then the person told me it was a business school, so I was like, why not, let me just give it a try. It gives me an opportunity to explore,
Move out of
yeah,
Takwa.
yes, other places, and then I chose to apply there. That wasn't the only school I wanted to go to though.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought forms for UCC, for Legon, and then others, but
You got admission to
UPSC
first, and then you moved to UPSC.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you know what UPSC does is that they give you admission very early, and so it becomes very difficult to wait for other universities,
Yes,
and then
yeah.
So after school, what happened?
Okay, so after school, I had to go back to Takwa because that was where I got placed for my national service. Yeah, so I was there for a year. Afterwards, I tried to find a job. I had one, but it was on a contract basis. Then the opportunity to travel to the UK to further my study skills.
Okay, wait. What program and what university was that?
Sheffield Hallam University in Sheffield. In UK.
Sheffield, in the UK.
Yeah.
Wow, what program?
Yeah, an MSc Financial Management. Yeah.
At what point did you decide to like move to the UK to study? Like, what triggered that?
Okay, so I told you earlier that the jobs I had after service were on contract basis. So it got to a point the contracts weren't coming anymore. And I was at home doing nothing. So I decided to try applying for schools outside to see, at least I would be able to go somewhere else to explore new avenues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So your life has just been about exploring because, you know, you were in Takwa for a very long time,
Yes.
and then you decided to move to Accra to study just so
Yeah.
you can explore, which you didn't.
Yes.
And now after school, you went back to Takwa,
Yeah.
and then later you realized that, you know, you want to explore other places, and then you chose the UK to study.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the experience in the UK?
Okay, it wasn't an easy one for me at all. Yeah. You know how these school things work out. If you are going to school without any form of funding from the institution, it's quite tough. Yeah. So for me, I didn't have any funding, and then I had to fund myself.
Wow.
Yeah, by God's grace, some way, somehow, my dad was supporting me. So I was able to go through the processes, and then my visa was approved. So I got there safely. I started schooling, but things weren't easy for me at all because the fees was huge. And then the school doesn't really matter whether you can afford or not because you've proven that you can.
Pay for it.
Yeah, so getting there and not getting a job immediately made things tough for me. So I had to.
Yeah. But I was told that in the UK you can, as a student, you can apply for jobs and get jobs.
Yes, you can, but it's not that easy. Like, I put in several applications. Yeah, I can stay up all night trying to apply for jobs, and then
Did you apply any on Indeed?
yes, a lot of jobs on Indeed.
For international students who know Indeed, you can just be applying. I don't know why that application exists though. Like, anyways, that's just by the way.
Yeah. So I was trying to find jobs, and then I knew very few people there. See, where I was had very few Ghanaians, so who to even reach out to for assistance was an issue. Until I one day met someone that introduced me to a church where I met some Ghanaians who started helping out, and then some way somehow I got a job around. But even with that, combining the tuition fees with your accommodation, your feeding wasn't easy. So at some point, a friend told me about the University of Memphis, and then trying to apply for a scholarship.
Okay, wait.
Yes.
How many months were you in the UK?
I was in the UK for almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah, almost a year.
And so when you heard about the opportunity at the University of Memphis, you decided to leave the UK.
Yes. Yes.
That was a very bold step because, I mean,
Yes.
it's just few people who leave school in the middle and say they want to try it somewhere else in another country.
Yeah, that should tell you the intensity of what I was going through.
Yeah. Okay, so it got to a point where you were not able to like manage the situation anymore.
Sure.
And the best decision is either go home or go to a different country.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
walk us through how you got to the US.
Okay, so after my friend told me about the University of Memphis, I decided to put in an application. Yes, I did apply, and then I was given admission. So I had to apply for a scholarship from the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, and then by God's grace, I was awarded one. So from there, I had to go back to Ghana for...
So you left the UK to Ghana?
Yes, I did.
But why didn't you apply for your visa in the UK?
Okay, it was a personal decision.
Okay.
I wanted to
go home and then now study all over again.
Yeah. So I was in Ghana for about a month. Yeah. Then I attended my visa interview, got all my stuff together. By God's grace, it was approved. So I made my way here to the US.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, to the US.
Yes.
And so let me ask you, when you got to the UK, I mean, they saw your when you go to the US embassy for your interview, they saw your UK visa, right? Did they
Yes.
ask you questions concerning your UK visa and whether you've been in the UK or not?
Should I say fortunately or unfortunately? There was no question about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I went for the interview.
Do you
because-
remember some of your interview questions?
Yeah, they only asked me where I'm going to, so I told them the school, the city, and then the state.
Yeah.
So the next question was what program I was coming to pursue. Then I told the interviewer about it, and then I think she asked me if I had a scholarship or funding, and I told her yes. She asked me to present my documents that proved that I had a funding. I did, and then that was it.
Wow, that was quite simple because a lot of people
Yeah.
go through like
Tedious.
tedious process and
Yeah.
then they end up not getting the visa.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So now you came to the University of Memphis.
Yes.
You are in America.
Yes.
Tell me about your
Land of
experience.
opportunities.
Tell me about your experience in the US.
Okay, so my experience here, comparing this to the UK, I would say it's way better.
Wow.
Yes, by God's grace.
What makes the US better than the UK in your lenses?
In my opinion,
Yeah.
because I was struggling over there with
okay.
some financial issues because I was funding myself.
Self-funded.
Yes, this place is much easier because I don't have to go through that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the funding I have, it eases that
Your
burden.
stress.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In terms of finding a job, you complain about finding a job in the UK.
Yeah.
How is it like here?
Okay, it was way easier to find a job here because it's easy to find on-campus jobs here. I don't know for other schools or for other states, but for here, by God's grace, I was able to find a job on campus easier. And then there are a lot of Ghanaians here. So finding out information about how to go about things on campus is...
It's always better to find a community. I mean, it helps you to like get more information, get
That's
to
true.
know what's happening.
That's true.
Let's talk about cultural shocks.
Okay.
I would assume you've experienced 3 levels of cultural shocks. Why? Because the life in Takwa is different from the life in Accra.
Yeah.
And when you were in Takwa, like, did you visit Accra often?
No.
So coming to the UPSA was your first Accra experience.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start from there. In Ghana, moving from Western Region to Greater Accra, the capital,
Yeah.
what was your first initial, cultural shocks?
Okay, so I think the population,
Okay.
yes, and then traffic.
There's
yes, that
no
was-
traffic in Western Region like that.
Yeah, there's no. The only time you meet traffic is maybe when they are constructing the roads. Yeah, that's when you have to go through that stress. But I go to Accra and I'm like, how?
Wow.
I stay in traffic for like an hour and a half. It was so uncomfortable.
For
So
you.
yeah,
Okay, so now that is it for Accra.
yeah.
Your first time traveling from Ghana to the UK, how was the
Yeah.
experience?
Ooh.
When you go to the UK, I mean, your first 2 weeks, how was the experience?
Okay, so I know this might sound funny, but a lot of white people all over me. I'm like, what's all this about? Because although in Ghana we were seeing white people around us, but this one, everywhere you turn left, you meet a white person, you turn right, you meet a white person. I wasn't so used to that. So my very first day, it was something uncomfortable for me. But as the days went by, and then another thing was when I started attending classes, I think the language was a bit of an issue. Yeah, because understand.
And
then
then
even-
the UK English is so crazy.
Yeah. I had Chinese lecturers, lecturers that were British, and you know the accent is different, so you'd have to pay particular attention before you can understand. And then some of them would be point blank, like they'll be like, don't record their
Yeah, the lecture.
Yeah, the lectures, it's illegal, so you can't even record and then go back to take your time to listen.
How
Yeah.
different was the UPSA school system from the UK school system?
Okay, so in the UK, my institution, we had two separate classes for every course. So there is one class where the general or the entire class meets to discuss a topic. Then there is another day assigned for smaller groups from the same class, and then we would further discuss the topic that was already discussed in the previous class. So it gives you a one-on-one encounter with the lecturer. You'd ask every question that you couldn't ask in the general class. Yeah, and then I think it was a good thing in UPSA. Once you are done with your 3 hours lecture for the week, you are done. Yeah.
Okay. And now you go to the US, you know, having lived abroad for almost a year, getting into the United States of America, what was the cultural shock?
I didn't receive so much here. I didn't receive so much here because of my prior experience. Yeah. Like I mentioned, I had issues with the language over there in the UK. But over here, I was kind of used to it. Yeah, so I could speak freely with people. But even with that crowd, the Black Americans, you know, the way they speak is quite different.
You know, yesterday I was saying Arkansas instead of Arkansas. Arkansas. it's a bit different.
Yeah, so that's the only challenge I had. But even with that, I've gotten over it now. Yeah.
Let's talk about the differences between the life in the UK and the life in the US. What do you think the differences are?
Okay, so I'll take Memphis as an example. The transport system here is quite different from that of Sheffield, where I was.
In the UK.
Yeah. Way back in Sheffield, there are buses, there are trains running all over. But for here, for some reason, they don't have that. Yeah, very difficult.
Yeah, I've realized that about North America. If you don't have a car, it becomes very difficult to move
challenging.
Around.
Yeah, so I think that is one major difference I find here. Yeah.
Wow. So for you, you would always choose the US over the UK?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
After school, are you going to go back home to Ghana, or you want to start a life over here? I mean, if you get a chance.
Okay.
If you get a chance. I mean.
Yeah, if I get the chance, why not? I would really love to. Yeah, I would really love to stay and then.
Yeah. They always say the United States of America is a land of opportunities. Has that been your experience so far?
Yes.
You think the opportunities here?
Yes. There are a lot of opportunities here. Wow. You just have to go through the right channels and then get to where you want to get to. Yeah.
All right. So what advice would you give to an African girl watching you from Tarkwa or watching you from Accra who wants to further her education abroad? What would be your advice?
Okay. I would say having that vision or dream of studying abroad isn't a bad one. It's a great one. And then she should push further. It's doable. So far as I from Tarkwa have been able to make it here by God's grace, she's also capable of doing it. She just has to put in more effort, apply to as many institutions as she can, and then look for opportunities that would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir. Peace out.